The NASCAR schedule for 2025 has been leaked out by The Athletic and Jordan Bianchi, and it's exactly the same one that was leaked out with only one change really from a couple weeks ago, both on Twitter from different various leakers as well as the NASCAR Latino account. But we're going to go through it, we're going to see what it all looks like, and we're going to go series by series. So let's not waste any time and let's get started now. Starting out, of course, we have Bowman Gray, which will be the Clash on February 2nd. You got a week off for the Super Bowl and then Speed Weeks. And then you have the opening 6 races, including that Daytona 500 and Speed Weeks, that Chris Myers had also leaked out. That would be Atlanta, COTA, Phoenix, Vegas, and Homestead, which would be the opening 6 races. And I gotta say, I'm with most people that I don't agree with the Homestead decision unless it's for a bigger plan. If it's for the finale going there in 2026 and there's renovations and all of that, okay, I get it for a year. I even get it for 2 years if you have to push it to 27. But if this is simply done because there's no other place in the schedule to put it, or you didn't think it deserved to be in the playoffs, I have some serious questions. After that, March 30th, you have Martinsville, then Darlington the week after that, and Bristol before the only week off for Cup all year when it comes to Easter. Now, I'm not too crazy about moving Darlington off Mother's Day. I thought that Fox and NASCAR as a whole had something good there, but the track it was replaced by, I'm not too upset with. And I think Bristol in April, March, doesn't matter when in the spring it will be, it's going to be at risk for rain. But if it doesn't rain, having that be the opening 9 races, well, that will be a really good way to start the season if the short track package is fixed for races like Martinsville and shorter tracks like Phoenix. After that, you got Talladega. So you kick off your week off with Dega, then Texas and Kansas. Kansas on Mother's Day, I'm a fan of. I think that while Darlington I would be more of a fan of, Kansas is the next best thing. The racing there has been immaculate since this car came out, and, well, I'm just a fan of the track. And you close off the Fox portion of the year with the Wilkesboro as the All-Star race. This has already been confirmed. What also has been confirmed is the Coke 600 opening up the prime section of the year. This one is going to be a little bit of a head scratcher for a lot of old school fans. I get people being upset with it, but this is a good way to kick off the prime side of it. Dale Jr. will be back in the booth, and on top of that, prime does actually have more people signed up for it than basic television, so it's not that bad. At least cable, it's better than. After that, Nashville. I think Nashville earlier on in June is better. While I do live in the local area, I can tell you that at least the years I've been down here, it's been marginally cooler, and I'm hoping this one is a night race, even if it's not initially planned as one. After that, you got Michigan. I think this is a good area to have it as well. Later in the summer has just been awful for rain, and while it will probably rain still at Michigan, knowing how this track is, moving the date back to closer to its traditional Father's Day date, in my opinion, is a good move. After that, we were also locked in with Mexico City on Father's Day. This was talked about yesterday, and this is the big crux of why 2025's schedule took so long to get out. And we'll close off the prime section of the year at Pocono. It's important to note that the races at Michigan, Mexico, and Pocono will be setting up the bracket for the in-season tournament that they're going to have with the TNT Turner races. And speaking of those, our first Saturday night race of the year will be Atlanta. This was also confirmed earlier, but it's still something I think a lot of people will like, seeing how we're not going to be having fans boiling alive out in the Atlanta heat. And then you got Chicago and July 6th. This is not a surprise. They're in the last year currently of their contract. Chicago can pick up the next year option, but that's still up for debate. Then you go across to the west coast of Sonoma before going across to the east coast of Dover. This is one of those kind of decisions that I just don't understand scheduling-wise, unless you just had to place one of them there. But I do like that Dover being in the summer, while being hotter, will probably mean it's going to be less of a chance of rain, hopefully, especially if you keep the earlier start time. And then you close off both the in-season tournament and Turner's side of the schedule with the Brickyard 400. which I think is a pretty good way to go about it. Make it important for multiple reasons, not just the one of it coming back like you had in 2024. And then you get to the NBC portion. This is where I think things get very interesting. Of course, you start back up at Iowa. I think that NBC really wants to keep that in their pocket. Iowa as a track has been one that's building up the fan experience and a bit of a good reputation with racing fans. After that, Watkins Glen moves back out to its summer date where it belongs, and Richmond is the second to last race before the playoffs, before you have Daytona. Now, Richmond will be one of 2 straight Saturday night races. NASCAR fans have talked a lot about the fact that they want Saturday night racing back in the Cup Series, and over the last couple years, all we've had was Daytona and Bristol. Well, this year we get Richmond, and that also is on top of having Atlanta as a Saturday night race in the summer as well. And this is the only Richmond race, by the way, at that, the other one going to Mexico City. There were some rumors about whether or not Daytona would be a Sunday night, but that was more of a placeholder date. It will be back on its Saturday night to close off the NASCAR Cup Series regular season. And after that, it's everything in the playoffs that Jordan Bianchi had already told us it would be. Southern 500 opens it up, Gateway Bristol the rest of the first round, New Hampshire, Kansas, and the Roval, then Vegas, Dega, Martinsville to lead us into Phoenix, which possibly could have its last year as the NASCAR Cup Series and just NASCAR in general finale for a long time. Playoffs-wise, I'm just not too crazy or turned too much on by it. I just see the way that, yes, the Southern 500 is back at the start of the playoffs. I think Gateway will actually be okay, but I can't get behind having New Hampshire back in the playoffs. It just doesn't fit for me, and especially since you have wet weather tires, it kind of takes out a lot of the rain argument for moving the date out of that question. I also want the Roval to be axed, I guess, or at least put on hiatus. I think the Charlotte Oval has some of the best racing in NASCAR, and you already have so many wild cards in the playoffs nowadays. You don't need another with a road course. And I'm kind of on the boat of, well, road courses, I could like having them in the playoffs, but they're not a necessity necessarily for me. The big one is Talladega. I just don't like Talladega being the race that is right before Martinsville to set the Final Four. It's just too much of a crapshoot in an already big crapshoot system. Overall, I think this is actually a pretty good schedule, all things considered. There's some things I don't like Talladega being in the playoffs, like moving New Hampshire back into the playoffs and Gateway at that. I think both of those probably could be regular season dates still, but I do like other things. Trying the Mexico race, trying to broaden the horizons of the fan base, I like that. I also like the idea of having Nashville right after the Coke 600. That way you're still relatively close to home, all things considered, instead of driving out to Sonoma before Mexico. I also really like the fact that there's only one bye week. I know the industry doesn't like that, but me as a fan and me as somebody who likes seeing ratings stay up and more people have interest in NASCAR, I like that as well. I think COTA before the West Coast swing is a good move. Though I do wish, unless they renovate it for 2026's finale, I do wish Homestead was still in the playoffs. But overall, I'll give this schedule a B for the Cup Series. Overall, I'm not too dissatisfied with it. There's some things I don't like, but there's also some things I really do like. I get it's going to be different for everyone, so I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts and opinions on the 2025 NASCAR schedule, the good and the bad of it? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. And be sure to watch NWP tonight on this channel. We'll talk even more in depth about this schedule. So, until then, have a good one.